So, Lawrence, what should a potential client expect from their first therapy session? So they walk in the door, and what's going to happen?
Okay, so what's going to happen? The therapist would or should have a contract that they'll go through and read out aloud to you, which will contain some pertinent details about the therapeutic relationship between you and the therapist. So that's one key aspect. And that's really only done in the first session. So it's just kind of a bit of administration that needs to be done. And as soon as the paperwork is all done, which might take like 10 to 15 minutes, then there's an opportunity then for the client to actually share why it is that they've decided to go to therapy, if they feel like they can share that. And yeah, I suppose share part of their story and the reasons why they've decided to go to therapy. I know that clients are quite eager to talk sometimes in their first session and get it all out. But the session is only 50 minutes long, so I wouldn't be too disheartened if you don't get to share all the details about your backstory, because it might be the first time you've ever sat down with a therapist and shared your life story. So you could be in your 20s and have 20 years of history
Yeah.
that you're trying to squeeze in 50 minutes. So I think to not expect too much from your first session in the sense of getting to share everything, that can take weeks and months to cover that type of ground. But I would look at the first session as an opportunity for the client to get a feel for the therapist, see if they're kind of comfortable and if they're vibing with the therapist and if it feels right. And then they can make a decision if they want to turn up for the second session. They can always choose to go see another therapist if they want. They don't have to see that therapist if it doesn't feel right. I would say give it a chance. Probably it's good to have a couple of sessions with that therapist, unless you really feel that it's not a good fit. But if you're unsure, book another session and turn up for the second session and see how that feels, because I know clients can be quite anxious and nervous turning up for the first session. So it can be hard to kind of make a good judgment when you're feeling those feelings. What would your thoughts be, Doig?
Yeah, full agreement. Like you go in the door, and there's going to be some sort of admin, and which will generally take about maybe 5-10 minutes, something like that. You don't have a lot of time. You've just met this person, and you're trying to understand whatever challenge they have in context of their whole, as you said, 20-year life, 30-year life, 50-year life. So you're just going to get like an overview, maybe of who they are, where they're from, like their life CV. And then at some point, the client will be very eager to talk about their specific problem, and you might be trying to hold them back a little bit and say, it's like viewing this like this is a rabbit hole with tons of detail. We have to get some context around that. So there'll be an admin overview. We'll talk a little bit about maybe your specific challenges, and then you there shouldn't be, in my opinion, there shouldn't really be any sort of high pressure sales or anything like that. I think a good therapist would say, look, go away, have a think before we enter into any sort of like formal agreement with regard to how many sessions we're going to do. The therapist should talk a little bit about themselves and what way they work. They might say, well, I'm more of a CBT guy, or I'm more of a integrative or psychodynamic, or any of those type of things. And that's it. The client should just go in with an open mind. They don't have to buy anything straight away. See how they feel with regard to like trust. Do I think I could trust this person? Do I get along with them? And you're just going to have a brief overview of your life and briefly touch on the thing that's challenging you. So and manage your expectations, as you said, Lawrence, about the first session. It's going to take a while, a couple of sessions to feel each other out. And yeah, after maybe 3 or 4 sessions, if you're not really feeling like you can open up to this person, or you don't vibe with them or whatever like that, yeah, it's time to move on. And you're allowed to see more than one therapist at the same time. You can shop around, which I highly encourage you to. So yeah, anything else you want to add on what you should expect from your first session?
I suppose I would expect to probably feel some nerves and
Yeah,
anxiety, and that's perfectly normal.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
yeah, don't overthink it. I think the most important thing is just to show up for yourself. That's it. Just show up.
yeah. Just like show up. You
Like,
might be surprised how hard it is to get there. Just get there. You'll be nervous.
yeah, it can be very hard to get to your first session for some people. So just getting there can be a major accomplishment in itself. So just physically get to the therapy room and see what happens from there.
Okay, that's your first session. Cheers.
It's good. Okay, good
Okay,
stuff.
that was good.